Started this morning with our webinar. I want to wish everyone a good morning. Where I am, it's good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this webinar provided to you today by NSLIB. That's IFLA's Environment, Sustainability, and Library section. And today's title of the webinar is Climate Equity, a Manifesto for Libraries by Dr. Nkem Asuway. My name is Beth Filer-Williams, and I'm on the standing committee for NSLIB. I'm also a librarian at Oregon State University Libraries. And I'm here with Vivian Bird. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Vivian Bird, and I'm the co-op member of the standing committee of the NSLIB section. And I'm also a librarian and a program lead for the STEM and Citizen Science Initiative at the Los Angeles Public Library. And before we begin, let me start with some notes on privacy and administration. This event is being recorded, including the chat. So the video will be posted on YouTube, and the link will be also posted on the NSLIB's website as soon as we have it, as well as on other social media. The chat and Q&A protocol will be recorded, and we, if upon request, we can send that to any of the attendees who are joining us today. Microphones have been muted for this event. If you do have questions or comments, please type into the chat or the Q&A, use the Q&A button. And if you have questions regarding privacy, please send that to the email to professionalsupport@ifla.org. And now we are pleased to invite Harry Sahavirta, the chairman of the NSLIB section and chief librarian of Helsinki City Library, to have an opening speech for the webinar. Harry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vivian. Good late afternoon from Helsinki, Finland. We have a sunny late afternoon here. And I greet you in the name of NSLIB, IFLA's Environment, Sustainability, and Libraries section. We in NSLIB are very happy to see that there is so many colleagues from around the world interested on this NSLIB webinar. As you may know, NSLIB started long ago as a very small special interest group. After years of hard work and with growing interest in sustainability, NSLIB received the status of an IFLA section in the beginning of 2021. So that was only last year. And now we have very smart and active standing committee of 20 members from all around the world, again, shared by me, and with very effective secretary Petra Hauke from Germany and information coordinator Priscilla Un from Macau, China. Our section started work in August 2021 and can already present an impressive rounds of activities, like the very first newsletter published in December 2021, and the next one is coming out soon. Furthermore, the announcement of the 7th IFLA Green Library Award 2022, which is at the moment the submissions are under evaluation. And we are about to publish the shortlist finalists in, well, at least a couple of weeks, maybe next week already. And we have also new official definition of what is Green Library, and of course, a webinar series. And here we come to the theme of today, webinar on climate equity. I wish to thank you, especially Beth Williams from Oregon, USA, who is NSLIP Standing Committee member and the initiator of this webinar. And also Vivian Bird from Los Angeles, also from USA, joining us today as facilitator of the webinar. And you have already met them. And finally, I wish to thank Dr. Nkem Asuway from African Library and Information Associations and Institutions, AFLIA, at Accra, Ghana. She accepted our invitation to present her paper, Climate Equity, a Manifesto for Libraries, without hesitation, and we are very glad for that. And now I'm handing back over to Beth, I guess. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Harry. So at this time, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Nkem Asuway. She is Director of Human Capacity and Development and Training, African Library and Information Associations and Institutions, otherwise known as IFLIA. I think I'm saying that correctly. She has served as the director of the Nigerian Book Foundation and Anambra State Library Board. She has also been secretary and chairperson of Anambra State Chapter Nigerian Library Association, where she led the state to win the Best Chapter Award consecutively for 3 years. She represents AFLIA on the management committee of the UN SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals Book Club, the African chapter. She believes that libraries are the truest democratic institutions in any community with the power to transform lives as they propel the connection of people to knowledge, ideas, skills, and opportunities for better and sustainable living. She's traveled to many locations globally and is an advocate for training librarians to understand the importance of opening up knowledge for greater access, exploring pathways for the integration of Africa's local content into the global body of knowledge. I'm really excited to listen to this presentation. Please welcome Nkem.
Thank you very much, Beth. Thank you for this. I remember when you first said I should do this, I wanted to run away from doing it, but here we are today. And it's not as if I know it all. We are all going to learn together. So like Beth said, I am Nkem Asuway and I work for AFLIA, that's African Library and Information Associations and Institutions. So Beth is going to run the slides for me while I speak. And please, if I'm speaking and you hear some funny noises in the background, it's not my fault. I have an emergency and I'm babysitting my grandchild. So please bear with me on that. Thank you very much. So let's go, Beth. So first we have the outline of the presentation today. I'm going to talk about, these are the headings, you know, it's really the presentation is in 3 parts: the background, connecting the dots, then libraries and the climate crisis. So everything falls under these 3 sections. Next slide, please, Beth. Yeah, and I say that the world is really getting warmer, and it's no joke. Of course, you know that I'm speaking from my own part of the world. You know, it's really, really getting hot now, hotter than it used to be. I know that by this time in Nigeria, in most of West Africa, we'll have heavy rains. But nowadays, the rains are not that heavy, but it's really hot. You know, you can't stay outside so long because from what we are learning, you know, due to the climate change, the world is really getting hotter. And it is estimated that right now we're already at 1 degree Celsius. By the time that we get to 2 degrees Celsius is going to be hotter than anyone can imagine at present, and it's going to affect everything that we do, the way we live, where we live, what we eat, you know, and how we survive as people. Like I said here, you know, the heat now is just a preview of what's going to happen if we don't check the way things are now. Next slide, please, Beth. I called it, the next slide, I called it a clear present and future danger. The danger is right now in the present, but also is there in the future. Right from 1991, you know, that prediction has been there that the economy of most African countries is slowing down, is going down, because many people, many countries, many rural communities all depend on farming. You know, that's what we do mostly in the rural areas. And when the rain is not there, when it's that hot, people don't farm, and it affects how we live. It is affecting the prices. And according to predictions, the Sahel region, that is made up of Senegal, Gambia, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Nigeria, Chad, Central African Republic, South Sudan, Eritrea, and Ethiopia. We're already having temperatures higher than the international average. You know, that was said it will be, that is how it's going to be within this time, with a reduction in rainfall. Next slide, please. And like I said, it's unraveling fast in Africa. Why I'm focusing on Africa is that, well, I'm from Africa, that's where I live, that's the much I know. But what we are seeing now, you know, for many people, there's really no explanation, except people that maybe are educated, except people maybe that read newspapers, that listen to the news. You just know that the weather is changing. You know, things are not normal anymore. You can't say this season is for this and that season is for that, because it's as if the whole world is being recreated and nobody knows why. You know, plenty of drought, water insecurity, floods, you know, and when these things happen, people get displaced. People lose their means of livelihood. And all these things boil down to poverty more and more. People are getting poorer. Education is fractured and so on. So like I wrote here, between 2020 and 2024, it is estimated that the temperature will continue to rise in Africa, and the pattern of rainfall will continue to be unstable too. Next slide. I'm still talking about Africa, please forgive me. You know, food security is a big deal with us. You know, if there's no food, everybody is hungry. Prices go up. And that is happening all over Africa. In different countries, you find out that because the farmers can't do what they're supposed to do. Apologies for that, please. Apologies for that. I'm babysitting. It's an emergency, so I had to hold her. Yeah. So the food insecurity, you know, it's causing a rise in social vices, displacement, and so on. Next slide, so that I can. Then water stress. I got this picture from the Washington Post. I think it was way down in 2019. By then already, so many places in Africa we are having droughts, and it's still ongoing. I think it was in 2020 or no, 2018 or 2019 when I was in South Africa in Pretoria. We were told not to use water anyhow in the hotels because they didn't have water. That drought is really spreading all over Africa. Next slide. And these here are some side effects of climate change on Africa. I don't have a pointer here, but when you look at it, you see that Southern Africa is meant to experience drought. Even Zimbabwe, their maize harvest is meant to go down. In where are those countries now? Sahel again, all over this place, you know, is getting dry because of the decrease in rainfall, is affecting fishing, is affecting so many aspects of the economy. Yeah, next slide, please. So in all these things, you know, because I'm still laying the background, in all these things now, do we talk about the climate justice or climate equity? And I had to put down here that climate justice, it covers those rights, those obligations of governments, organizations, you know, institutions, individuals towards those that are affected by these changes, you know, as well as the procedures that people have for attaining justice. Next slide. And I asked, why justice? There's this poster here. Is between the global north and the global south. You know, the global north paints all this emissions, you know, and then tells the south, now clean it up. You know, meanwhile, the south has white paint and the north has black paint. And I wrote that climate change is mostly caused by rich countries and high income earning sections of the community. And those that feel it most are really the disadvantaged, you know, vulnerable people, women, ethnic minorities, children, and the aged. And because of all this injustice, inequality continues to proliferate. So the next slide should be equity. Now, when you look at the poster there, you know, I chose this one intentionally, you know, because in the global south, let's say you use firewood to cook. That's a kind of fossil fuel, and it's not good for the climate. But it is for what? Survival, because that's the only way that people know how to cook. But there's a car there, its own emissions, they said is luxury because they are alternatives. And I say that equity is important because when you talk of protecting people from impact of climate crisis, you must know that there are those fault lines between the income and that's the fault lines between the different groups of people, you know, and climate crisis seems to have widened those gaps. Then also we need to understand that the livelihood of many people is based around use of fossil fuel. And also there are industries, there are countries that almost everything that they earn is based on, you know, oil and gas. Please, can you go on bed, please? Let me. Let me come down. Apologies for that, please. I really apologize for that, please. So when you talk of equity, you now have to balance things between taking responsibilities for who is causing what and who is suffering what. And in the end, you find out that it is really something that people need to agree on. But please, can you go on for a while?
I think the little one is getting upset over the climate equity injustices as well.
I agree. She can feel the passion and the urgency from
Exactly.
Dr. Yes, from Dr. Asuway. Asuway's tone of voice, I guess.
Yes, totally. Take your time. You're balancing two things right now.
Yes.
So we're taking a little intermission pause while we before we move on to the rest of it. By the way,
My sister,
go ahead. Are you ready?
Hello, Beth, please. I apologize for this. It wasn't planned, you know. And when
No
you
problem.
have to speak with a grandchild, 7 months, she doesn't know the importance of closing her mouth. So when we talk of equity, we also have to think of how do people access Ben, please, can you go on for a while, please?
Sure, go ahead and take a break. I was going to share, there's a wonderful film that I watched that was on the Sahel region of Africa. It's called The Great Green Wall. I can put the link in the chat if anyone's interested to learn more. It was really well done documentary I saw recently. greatgreenwall.org. I think that's the link if I got it right. So check it out. It was very well done, just kind of about the changes in that region across Africa, and some folks work on trying to combat some of that. So if you want to learn a little bit more, I would definitely recommend that one.
All right, maybe I take the occasion to say a couple of words. I think with that, we haven't realized really that the climate change, it's for all of us in all countries. I'm listening what happens in Africa. It's getting hotter and hotter and drier and drier. And then I think about Finland, which is in the north. Our extreme weather is that it can be very cold. It can be minus 30 degrees in Celsius, or even more. But what is happening, and what you really can see, is that the rains are getting heavier and heavier. And we haven't used to heavy rains because we haven't ever got any extreme weathers. And now people are quite shocked that the cities don't work anymore because it's raining so much, so heavily. And I guess this is what we need to wake up, to see the real concrete effects locally on our own countries, on our own cities. The sea level is another thing most of the Helsinki center has been built on where the sea used to be. So if the sea level raises, we will be in troubles as much as many other countries and islands. And then,
yeah, apologies for that again. I don't know. Yeah, so thank you for holding on. I was talking about equity, like you were saying, different things are happening all over the world and is affecting all of us because there's no planet B, but in thinking about all of them, there needs to be a balance so that everybody can every part of the world can get better, because it's not possible for one part to be all right and the other part not to be. Next slide, please, Beth. Sorry. Yeah. And I say that it crops across all the SDGs. Again, like I said, I'm speaking from my part of the globe, right from SDG 1 to SDG 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then 10, then 13, 14, 15. So it's really hard for any country to think of attaining the SDGs, without thinking of what is happening as pertains to the climate, because that is where, it is tied all around it, because we all live on this planet. So you can't go to the moon to achieve goal 1. You can't go to the Mars to achieve goal 8. And the thing is that the climate crisis is even making some of the goals almost impossible to attain, because when you think of the equalities, especially for women who have to farm, women who have to fetch water, women who have to look for firewood to cook, you find out that this needs to be tackled in order for the world to have sustainable development. Next slide, please, Beth. And I asked libraries to the rescue, and where there are information gaps, or where the story is not well told, it can hinder that ability for the right decisions to be made, or for people to understand really what is happening. And I say that libraries are well placed to drive climate equity, because they can provide information, and they do provide information to everybody, stakeholders, users, decision makers, all of them. Libraries are right there in the mix. And the next slide, it talks about what some libraries have been doing in Africa. I said some, because we've seen over and over again that sometimes people don't tell their stories well. People don't let others know what they are doing. So these are some of the ones that I could find, immediately, but I know that there are quite some more too. Just like in other parts of the world too, globally, I read about the one of ALA, IFLA, UK, many great things have been happening. Libraries have been showing that, that they can do this over and over and over again. But the important thing that I think that we need to think about here is, how do we coordinate all this? And I believe that NSULIP can really run this, so that libraries all over the world will know that, hey, this is important and we can really do this. We can make that change happen. We can make the world a better place, so that everybody can can survive and thrive irrespective of the crisis at present. Next slide, please. Yeah. And I started a manifesto. A manifesto is like, what you hope to do, where you're looking at, what, the larger picture. And that is what this is all about. It's not something you can stay in one corner and feel that once you do this, it's all done. We have to look at that larger picture of the entire globe, of the entire world. How do we do it so that our planet will survive? Next slide, please. And I said these are the action points. I'm in a little bit of rush before we go all crazy with the little one again. So I said climate education. Why I put it this way is that there's something that I noticed while I was trying to do this thing. I noticed that there are so many concepts about climate crisis that I do not know about. Many people do not know about. So you find out that libraries have a critical role to play in letting people know what does GHG stand for? What are carbon emissions? What are those agreements? The one of Paris, the one of Montreal, and so on. So libraries have a large role to play in climate education. I wrote it all down here, but all I know is that there are so many things that I do not know. There are so many things that people do not know. And libraries are the people, are the institutions that will help people learn these things, because the woman that is in the village that uses firewood, she doesn't understand what you're talking about. She has no idea that there's a climate crisis, but libraries can help to educate such people. Like I said again, remember, I'm speaking from my own part of the world. Next slide. Then I said promote and provide resources, content, and programming. Excuse me, please excuse me.
While we're taking a quick pause, does anyone have any other resources they want to share in the chat? Feel free. I promoted that one film. Oh, thank you. I see another one is in there. Green Queen.
Yeah, thank you very much. So libraries will need to promote and provide resources, content, and programming for solutions, not just highlight the crisis, solutions that will help people adapt, change how they relate with the environment, and understand that there could be new ways of doing things, that maybe through technology, other sources of power and so on. Libraries can do that in their user communities. Then the third one is eliminating every confusion about the climate crisis. Beth had showed me something on Twitter, I think it was last 2 weeks, somebody was going on about eco-anxiety. People are getting anxious. Those that know, they are worried. What do we do? What do we do? And then sometimes so many bits, you don't even know which one is true and which one is false. Libraries are well placed to help give the right information and help people not to be overly worried, but to do the right things that will help everybody. Next slide, please. Then, of course, collaborations, because when you talk of equity, you can't just see things from your own perspective alone. You need to work with others, collect their stories, and all these will help to increase the visibility of libraries in this area. Excuse me, please. I'm almost getting done. Next slide, please. Then, the climate crisis, again, from my own side, it causes plenty of displacements, so many conflicts. People leave their towns, villages, and so on to move to other places where there's water, where they have better land, and so on. And all these things are causing problems. So libraries can also provide resources and help to in resolving the conflicts where possible. And in all this, it is a war in progress. There's still plenty of things to be done. And I hope that NSLIB will really take this up and make this work so that libraries all over the world can have something to hold on to, something that they can work with in ensuring that they play critical roles in the climate crisis issue. Then my last words. Climate change is real and it affects or is going to affect everybody here on this planet. How we treat the environment around us, it really, really matters. As long as we act, instead of climate crisis, there will be climate hope. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding my grandchild. I'm grateful. Thank you very much. Questions now, please. Thank you. I'm done, Beth.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. And totally appreciate the voice of the youth who are going to be dealing with this climate crisis later. So they're crying out in agony of thinking about the injustices and the climate change that's to come, and we need to do something about it, right? So that was super inspiring and interesting. Now we're going to open it up if there are questions. Vivian and I will help facilitate. Anything in the chat yet?
I haven't seen any question, but please feel free to bring it to type in your questions in the chat or using the Q&A button. We have a lot of thank you saying it's a great, inspiring presentations.
It looks like Harry has his hand up.
All right.
Yes, maybe I say a couple of words, waiting for other comments and questions. Well, I have to say that as a philosopher, I've been wondering how it can be that we have some ideals which everybody accepts, like justice or equity. But then it comes to action and what we do, we seem to just forget them, and all too easily. But fortunately, I can say that I agree what was said about the role of libraries and that we really can do something. and we can fight the misinformation, but we can also look for local solutions and spread them. So libraries really have an important role there. And I wish that NSLIP will promote that role also in future. But now maybe there's some comments or questions at this point.
I think everyone is trying to taking in this very inspiring presentation that we're just trying to digest all this information coming from Dr. Asuway. And I haven't seen a question yet, but they all really appreciate, to have this presentation. And I just want to also share some thoughts from the presentation. And I totally agree that, library is really in that leading role in terms of providing programs, providing that resources and information for people to understand this global challenge that we are all facing. And I think it's interesting that even for me living in Los Angeles, we assume that everyone knows what SDGs are. We assume that, people are just, having all the resources, you automatically know what SDG stands for. Unfortunately, of the communities that I'm approaching, most of them have never heard of SDGs, surprisingly. And I'm talking about these are from elementary school all the way to high school students, even college students. So, there's definitely a lot more work that we can do. Library can champion a lot of different type of programs. You can do seed library. You can become a library that's providing food seeds, different kind of vegetable seeds, giving away. You can promote having people doing planting native plants to help save their environment, to maintain that sustainable environment for the local natural habitat. There's a lot of things libraries can do, but I think this is a really good wake-up call for all of us who are working in different sectors of the library world to really think about what we can do. Okay, we have one question from Deborah. It's for Insulip. Can you say anything about satellite meeting in July? Is there a sign up?
Well, yes, we are going to have a satellite meeting in Cork just before IFLA Flick in July. It's going to be 2 days meeting. And, we have just finished the program, and I'm not sure if it's published yet, but it's ready and it's going to be very interesting. We welcome everybody to Cork, of course. We are arranging the satellite with marketing and management, so there will be an emphasis on marketing, but also with preservation and conservation. So there will be emphasis on that and open science too. So I welcome you all.
Okay, we have actually one question came in from Helen. It was really great to hear Dr. Asuway's presentation about how we can act at every level. Is there any one particular action you would recommend for us to take, whether for one individual library to get started or as a priority for libraries or for IFLA? Dr. Asuway?
Yeah. Can I send the slides to the person? Is it okay to send the slides to the person, please?
Yes, well, actually, what we're going to do is post the slides and the recording. We'll put the slides on our YouTube, and we have a slide share account where we can host the slides. So we'll be able to send them out to everyone that registered for this. And they'll also be available on our social media. So we'll be pushing that out on our Twitter and Facebook and Instagram too. So that would be great. So that answers, I think, a question that might have been in the chat.
Mhm.
But
And
yeah,
we do-
someone was asking about, is there like one particular action you would recommend, or whether one individual library could get started or a priority? Is there anything that you recommend, Nkem, or anyone else?
Yeah. You see, I know a library in Kenya. They help people to plant trees. They have seeds, they get seeds and then tell people to come in and take them freely. And those seeds, they grow into trees. That's a simple thing that a library can do, but because we know that trees help to absorb the plenty carbon in the air. So that's really one area that libraries can go to, have those seeds of trees, and then encourage people to plant trees, take the seeds free of charge and go plant. I think that's a practical thing that some libraries can do. Also, you see, the information again, climate education, it depends on where you're coming from. It depends on who your user community is. But, people take it for granted that this planet will be around all the time. But from what we are seeing, it may or it may not happen, but it depends on our actions. And libraries can begin to educate people, not to cause unnecessary panic, but let people know that these are the facts and that these are the ways that we can change how we relate with our environment so that we can live longer on this planet. Small changes here and there, but the important thing is letting people know that this can be done, and it can be done this way or that way. And that whatever we do now, maybe you burn things outside and stuff like that, all of them affect.
All right, and I could add here one thing.
So I think I answered that question before. My grandchild, she's carrying a placard up and down. Grandma, stop talking, let's play. Grandma, stop talking, let's play. Any other question?
Yes, we do have another one. They're asking, let me see here. Thank you for sharing the efforts the library in Africa have been making to combat this. I know you said that this is just a sampling, and I'm sure there are many other unreported efforts by libraries around the world. Do you have any idea? Do you have any ideas about how we can combine all of this information? How can other libraries begin to join these efforts?
Let me say that I'll look out some more for the information, because I didn't see them. That's why I used just the ones that I saw. So I'll try to get more information.
Thank you. And I think there's one more, I guess it's similar. It's is there a link to the library project in Kenya or to any other best practice project in the region? It would be great to be able to share that on Twitter.
I put some links in the presentation. That one of Kenya is there. It is right there. It's Nakuru Live branch. Nakuru in Kenya.
Great, thank you. And I think that is all the question I have seen so far.
Looks like, yeah, I think we've got them all. Someone asked if this was, a while back asked if this was typed up or online anywhere, but we'll definitely share the slides. But it sounds like if you ever wanted to write something up about this and promote it some more down the road, and Nkem, this would be well received. I also will share, I don't know whether, let's see, there's a great podcast interview if you want to learn more about the work Dr. Asuway was doing. She's done a lot of work with Wikipedia and open sharing and things like that. So anyway, I'm just going to share this in the chat as well. You could listen to that. I learned a little bit about her background and interest in libraries came from, and her name and all sorts of fun stuff listening to this podcast. So just wanted to push that out as well.
Wonderful.
And thanks for all the wonderful links.
Beth, I think I didn't talk about that UN book club, the African chapter. I didn't talk about it well enough. I'm not even sure I talked about it. What we are also trying to do there is to ensure that almost all the books that we choose, that they all have lessons on climate change for kids, about water, about farming and stuff like that. Because it's not just the adults, but everyone that should know about the climate crisis. So we're also doing that. Thank you.
That's right. That's great to know about the book club, and it's related to SDGs as well. We just have a few more minutes left if there's any other questions that anyone has before we move on to ending the session. And let the little one have her time with grandma.
Yes. Do we see any more questions coming? No, I think that is all the question we have. So I will go ahead and close up our session today. So thank you all very much for sticking around and joining us today. It's been our pleasure to host this event, and we wish you all a remarkable year ahead. Thank you, Dr. I want to make sure I can pronounce her name correctly.
It doesn't matter. I know you're talking to me. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for understanding, please. I really apologize for this, please. It's most unintentional, and it's an emergency, so please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye. And we hope to see you all again at our next webinar. Thank you.
Bye.